Hey, great to see you. Welcome to this video about making better decisions at the poker table. So I'm going to talk to you about how to make better decisions at the poker table. I'm also going to teach you a developmental loop, which will help you not only improve your poker quickly, but also execute under pressure. And that's really what we're talking about. It is a little bit silly that we've all tried to play No Limit Hold'em. Let me explain why. No Limit Hold'em has taken over the planet of poker because it's the most exciting, best structured game. Lots of other reasons, but that's definitely one of them. You might have heard it described as hours of boredom, moments of terror. And that's exactly what No Limit Hold'em is, right? We can sit there for hours and then suddenly our entire stack, our entire cash game session, our entire tournament is at risk with one decision. Now that's all well and good, it makes the game exciting, but it makes it very hard to play well. And the reason is our brains are not set up to do well under pressure. When we're under pressure, it doesn't matter if it's, emotional pressure, physical pressure, time-related pressure, our system is basically flooded with adrenaline, which is a great way of surviving if you're out on the wastelands of the grasslands of the savannah or whatever, because adrenaline helps you to perform physical tasks more quickly. However, that adrenaline floods our system and makes our decision-making capabilities very kind of binary, right? We're either going to run or we're going to fight. We're either going to front up to this problem or we're going to seek comfort and shelter or whatever it is. None of that stuff is helpful for poker, right? None of it. Because binary decisions don't really work very well in poker, and running away doesn't work very well in poker, punching your opponent doesn't work very well in poker. So we are faced with this problem, and it's exacerbated by the fact that you don't really make decisions under pressure in your day-to-day life. None of us in 21st century planet Earth really do very often, thank goodness. If you have a big decision to make, like let's say you wanted to buy a car, you would research all of the cars available, you go and test drive a few, talk it over with your partner, you look at your bank balance, you look at financing, all of that stuff, right? You do your research, you make a decision usually in your own sweet time. And if you've ever been pressured by a salesman to make a decision quickly, you'll know what I'm talking about, because that makes you shut down, doesn't it? So in poker, we don't have that luxury. In poker, we have to make big decisions under small amounts of time pressure. And that produces what I have called, trademarked, the execution gap. The execution gap. This is the gap between what you know about poker and what you're able to execute in the moment. And there's almost always a gap. If you watch the best players in the world, their gap is much, much smaller and close to non-existent. They can do a lot of theoretical thinking in real time because they've got rid of this problem. But for us mortals, it's a very real problem because we're suddenly making decisions under pressure and we're not great at it. So what do we do about it? Well, the first thing is to take the emotion out of the situation as much as you can. So try and make a stop, break, breathe when you're suddenly in a big pressured decision, right? Stop it being a big pressured decision. Then you need to bring yourself into the now and get as analytical as possible about the situation you're in. Think through the hand as much as possible. And then you can also use my third person technique, where you imagine the hand being played in a hand replayer or from the side to take your subjectivity out of it. So don't see it through your own eyes, because that's where all the emotion and adrenaline is. See it in the cold light of day. I'm sure you've noticed playing poker from the rail or watching on TV, you can make great decisions on behalf of the other players, right? Maybe not so much when you're under pressure. So those are some things you can do to relieve the pressure when you play. Now, how do we use that to improve our poker? Because really we want to get rid of that execution gap altogether. So I'm going to show you a developmental loop, which you should try and go through as much as possible with your poker, and you'll get quick improvement from it. So at the table, we cannot suddenly become a better player, right? We can't suddenly get knowledge and experience we don't have. So it's very important that you just make the best decision you can and back your judgment, right? So we're going to try and go through a two-step process when you're under pressure at the table. One is you're going to analyze. So that's what I've just been talking about, where you go through the hand as rationally as you can with as little emotion as possible to try and work out your opponent's range, where you stand compared to their range, what the best decision to take is, whatever. You go through all of that good logical stuff as much as possible. So you're going to analyze the hand, and then you're going to make your best judgment and back your judgment. So then you're going to back your judgment. Now this is a very, very important piece because it's very easy to analyze a hand and think, yeah, I think his range is pretty weak here. I think he has to fold a lot of the time. But then actually making that bluff, you know, if it's a big bluff for a lot of chips, it can be hard to follow through on, right? I'm sure you've experienced that. Same token, if you have to make a big call, but it's for your tournament life or for all your cash chips, and the other guy's putting the pressure on and you're thinking, I think I've got best hand a lot of the time and I'm getting good pot odds and I think the right decision is to call here, but it's really easy to fold and keep my chips, right? That's completely understandable stuff. That's just the emotion and the pressure of the moment taking over. One of the ways you can stop that is to committing to backing your judgment. Even write it down and have it in front of you when you play. So do that for the next few sessions you play. Always back your judgment. The process I want you to go through at the poker table is analyze as best you can, not trying to become a poker wizard in that moment, just using the best judgment you can about the hand, and then always backing that judgment with action. This is a big step forward for you. It will relieve a lot of the pressure of decision making if you know you're always going to follow through, and you will see results come. Don't be discouraged if it doesn't work the first couple of times. Stick with it. The only way to improve is to go through this loop. Then what you're going to do is you're going to commit to looking at those big pressure spots later on. So you're going to analyze away from the table. So work on game off table. What I recommend you do, and this will help you during your sessions, is when you have pressure-filled decisions or big pots or significant pots, make sure you make a note of them, keep a record of them. Tell your brain, I'll deal with that later, and that will stop your brain trying to figure out if you did the right thing at the table. And then make sure you're spending some time either after a session or before your next session working on those hands. Go through those hands, challenge your decisions, flip it around and think about the hand from your opponent's point of view, challenge their decisions and your decision from his point of view, and so on. Really kind of pull the hand apart as best you can. Then what I want you to do is get new information where you need it. So new information. So after you've gone through those hands, let's say you had to make 3 big calls and you figure out, okay, I'm not too happy with my thought process there. I was a bit lost in the hand and I didn't really understand pot odds. I didn't really understand how to put his range in and all that kind of stuff. Well, you need some new information to help you make better decisions in those spots. So when you've done this work away from the table and it's thrown up some needs and new information, go and get it. Obviously, you can come to us and do some of our coaching. You can find yourself a one-on-one coach. You can post stuff on poker forums. You can get a book on the subject, whatever it is. When you need to plug holes in your game, go away and do it. And then the next time you play, you're armed with the knowledge you've got by working on your game here, and you're armed with the new information you've got. And then you sit down and once again, you start playing the best game you can. And you're going to go back through these playing decisions. And the more you can go through this developmental loop, making good, clear thinking decisions, backing those decisions and getting the result, then pulling apart those hands away from the table and getting new information that you need to fill holes that this reveals, and then go back to making the best decisions you can at the table. The more you can go through this loop, the quicker you're going to improve as a poker player, the more you're going to be able to close your execution gap, because now you're thinking about making good poker decisions. You're not thinking about the pressure of the situation. The less pressure is going to be a problem, the better decisions you're going to make, and the quicker you'll be richer from poker. Ta-da! That's basically the way it's done. That's the way that all good players have developed their games. That's what I'd encourage you to do as much as possible. All right, I really hope that's helped. Good luck closing your own execution gap and being better under pressure. I wish you all the best with it. If you've got any questions, you can leave me a comment below. I'd love to know what you thought about this video. And if it helped you, if it has given you value, give it a Facebook thumbs up, give it a share on Facebook or other social media so that you can share that value with poker people that you like. Thank you so much for watching. I do love making these videos for you. I can't wait to see you in another one. Until then, run good, because that is the hard part.